Number 1. Rolex Oyster, 1926, the first waterproof wristwatch case in history. Mercedes Gleitze wore one swimming the English Channel in 1927, and it came out the other side running perfectly. Rolex took out a full-page ad in the Daily Mail the next day. The Oyster case became the foundation for every serious Rolex that followed, a sealed, screw-down architecture that turned the wristwatch from a fragile accessory into a genuine instrument. Everything starts here. Number 2, Rolex Oyster Perpetual, the baseline. No date, no complication, no bezel insert, just the Oyster case and the perpetual rotor movement that gave Rolex its second great innovation. The rotor winds the mainspring through wrist movement, eliminating the need to ever manually wind the watch. Clean dial, simple handset, available in a range of sizes and dial colors. The Oyster Perpetual is what Rolex looks like when it stops trying to impress you. It succeeds anyway. Number 3, Rolex Datejust, launched in 1945 to mark Rolex's 40th anniversary. The first self-winding waterproof watch to display the date in a magnified window on the dial. The Cyclops lens, that small bubble of sapphire sitting at 3 o'clock, became one of the most recognizable design details in watchmaking. The Datejust has been worn by every demographic across every decade since. It is the definition of a watch that works in any context, anywhere, forever. Number 4, Rolex Day Date, 1956. Rolex reserved this reference exclusively for heads of state, presidents, and people of, let's say, significant consequence. First watch to display both the day of the week spelled out in full and the date. Available only in precious metal, gold or platinum, never steel. Lyndon Johnson wore one. Martin Luther King Jr. wore one. It became known as the President Watch, and not accidentally. The day date is Rolex telling you exactly where you stand. Number 5, Rolex Submariner, 1953. The dive watch that defined what a dive watch is supposed to look like. Rotatable bezel, Mercedes hands, 200-meter water resistance at launch. Sean Connery wore one as Bond in Dr. No, which is either the most effective product placement in cinema history or a complete coincidence. It's not a coincidence. The Submariner became the template that every other dive watch has been measured against for 70 years, including ones that technically outperform it. Number 6, Rolex Submariner Date. The Submariner with a Cyclops window at 3 o'clock and a slightly larger case. Purists prefer the no date. Everyone else buys this one. The reference 116610 in particular, launched in 2010 with a ceramic bezel insert replacing the old aluminum, is the version most people picture when they close their eyes and think about what a watch looks like. That is not an accident of marketing. That is 70 years of iteration landing exactly right. Number 7, Rolex Sea Dweller. Built for professional saturation divers, where the Submariner is rated to 300 meters, the Sea Dweller launched in 1967 rated to 610 meters. More importantly, it introduced a helium escape valve, a small port that releases helium molecules that penetrate the case during decompression chamber dives. Comex, the French deep-sea diving company, developed it alongside Rolex. The Sea Dweller is not a lifestyle watch that happens to be waterproof. It is a tool that happens to be a Rolex. Number 8, Rolex Deep Sea, the extreme expression of the Sea Dweller concept. Rated to 3,900 meters. The case is 17.7 millimeters thick, nearly twice the Submariner, to withstand pressures that would destroy virtually anything else on your wrist. James Cameron wore a prototype to the bottom of the Mariana Trench in 2012. It survived. The deep sea is arguably overbuilt for any recreational purpose, which is precisely the point. Rolex has never been interested in building only what is necessary. Number 9, Rolex GMT Master, 1954. Designed in collaboration with Pan American World Airways for their transatlantic pilots who needed to track 2 time zones simultaneously. A fourth-hand points to a second time zone on a 24-hour graduated bezel. The two-tone bezel, Pepsi in red and blue, Batman in black and blue, root beer in brown and gold, became an obsession for collectors. The GMT Master is the watch that turned a functional pilot's instrument into the most coveted steel sports watch on the secondary market. Number 10. Rolex GMT Master 2, the 1983 update that allowed the hour hand to be set independently of the movement, so travelers could adjust local time without disrupting the GMT hand, a small but critical refinement. The reference 126710 BLNR, the Batman, with its black and blue ceramic bezel, is currently one of the hardest watches to buy at retail anywhere in the world. Waiting lists exist in theory. In practice, the relationship with your authorized dealer matters considerably more than the list. Number 11. Rolex Explorer, 1953. Launched the same year, Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay summited Everest, wearing Rolex watches that performed without fault at altitude and temperature that should have stopped them. The Explorer has the cleanest dial in the sports Rolex lineup, black, 3, 6, 9, and a seconds hand, nothing else. It is the watch for people who find the Submariner slightly theatrical. The Explorer just exists, quietly, and keeps excellent time in conditions most watches would not survive. Number 12. Rolex Explorer 2, introduced in 1971 for spelunkers, cave explorers who lose track of day and night underground. A fixed 24-hour bezel and an additional hand distinguish daytime from nighttime hours. Steve McQueen wore the reference 1655 with its distinctive orange hand, which drove secondary market prices into territory that would have surprised everyone involved in its original design. The Explorer 2 found its audience eventually. It just took the audience a few decades to realize it. Number 13. Rolex Cosmograph Daytona, the Holy Grail. Launched in 1963 as a chronograph for professional racing drivers, named after the Daytona International Speedway, Paul Newman wore a reference 6239 that his wife Joanne Woodward had engraved. When it sold at Phillips in 2017 for $17.75 million, it became the most expensive wristwatch ever sold at auction. The Daytona is the watch that turned Rolex from a prestigious manufacturer into a cultural obsession. There is a before and after. The Daytona is the dividing line. Number 14. Rolex Milgauss, 1956. Built specifically for scientists and engineers working in high magnetic field environments, CERN physicists, electrical engineers, anyone whose work environment would stop a conventional movement cold. A specially shielded cage inside the case deflects magnetic fields up to 1,000 Gauss. The lightning bolt, seconds hand, is the detail that makes it immediately recognizable. The Milgauss occupies a strange position in the lineup. Technically purposeful, visually distinctive, chronically underappreciated by everyone except the people who actually need it. Number 15. Rolex Air King, the aviation reference with the longest uninterrupted name in the Rolex catalog. Introduced in the 1940s to honor RAF pilots during the Second World War, went through numerous iterations over the decades, was briefly discontinued, then returned in 2016 with a bold black dial, large Arabic numerals at 3, 6, and 9, and the yellow second hand. Anti-magnetic to protect against cockpit instrument interference. The Air King is the Rolex that looks slightly different from every other Rolex. That is increasingly the reason people want it.